In this video, I'm going to embarrass myself just a little bit. When I first started indie publishing, I felt like a fish out of water. There was so much to learn, tons of books to read, tons of courses to take, not to mention the daunting need to learn craft. I used to call myself an outsider in this industry. I had no formal entrepreneurship experience, I didn't know marketing if it punched me in the face, and I was just generally a newbie. All I knew is that I wanted to write stories that I enjoyed and that people would buy. And so I literally pretended that I was an immigrant to this land of publishing, making an effort to learn the language, customs, and geography of this strange new world. Notice that I use the word immigrant. Where did I immigrate from, you ask? Well, a long time ago, before I became an indie author, I was a musician. And I paid a lot of dues and made a lot of sacrifices to be one. Imagine me as a composer doing all the stuff I talk about on my YouTube channel every week, except I didn't know what I was doing. Except when I was writing music, indie music was still demonized. It wasn't the cool thing it is today. If you wanted to publish a CD or even an MP3 collection or an album, you had to have state-of-the-art equipment, you had to hire sound engineers if you couldn't do it yourself, you had to hire a cover designer, and you really had to spend a lot of money to produce one album. That's why musicians just still today can't work at a fast pace that indie authors can. It's a little easier and it's a little cheaper, but not by much. I wanted to be a video game music composer. I had a pretty cool setup, tons of instruments, state-of-the-art composing and sequencing software, but honestly, I didn't know the first thing about starting a career as a composer. That was 10 years ago. It's funny because if I had stuck around today, it might have been much easier to go down that path of being a professional composer. And maybe I would have had a few albums by now, I would have had a few gigs, maybe I might have even had a video game or something to my credit. So when I decided to call it quits with music, I didn't immigrate to the land of publishing with 0% knowledge. There were a lot of things that came and still come to me much easier than some authors. For starters, I have a professional musician's work ethic. I never have a problem coming up with ideas or being creative because I learned those basics when I was writing music for the first time. I understand in many ways where publishing is heading because so much of what's happening now has already happened in the music industry. But I was an indie musician before it was cool to be an indie. And in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, I was far ahead of my time. But I learned a ton about being an artist. My transition to publishing wasn't very difficult. In other words, I paid my dues. The only thing I had to learn was how to run a business. Everything else, for the most part, was transferable. No one starts at zero. Everyone brings a unique skill set of strengths to publishing. You just have to understand yourself and understand what those strengths are. As you progress in your career, these skills will help you in so many ways. For example, when I started writing, I wanted to be a poet first. My work still benefits from a poetic perspective even to this day. Writing a lot of short stories, which was the next thing I started writing, also helped me transition into novels much easier, so much that I honestly don't have trouble writing them, and I can usually write a novel pretty quickly. You too have to pay your dues. You have to put your 10,000 hours in, but recognize that you may already have a credit based on your prior experiences. Creativity is creativity no matter how you applied it in the past. So is the art of committing creativity into a consumable medium, whether that be books, music, dance, or whatever. Think bigger, think broader, and be patient. When you reach the level of success you're looking for, these are the days that you'll look back on fondly, I promise. Here's the part now where I embarrass myself. Check the video description, depending on where you're watching this, or the YouTube card above my head for a video I did with some samples of my old music. Try not to laugh too much, and if you like it, let me know too. Keep in mind that what you're about to hear is not it's not studio quality, or it hasn't been mastered or professionally engineered. And I had good equipment, but I didn't have the state-of-the-art equipment. So keep that in mind. But it was a lot of fun for me, and this is at one point what I wanted to do with my life. That's it for this video. If this is your first time watching, I'd love to have you subscribe. And if this video helped you in some way, do me a favor and click the like button. Thanks for watching.